Everyone assumed her uniform was a lie. No one expected the Admiral to defend her, especially with those four impossible words. The morning she was arrested began like any other in the quiet coastal town of Winter Harbor, except for the way. The wind stopped when she stepped into the station, as if the air itself was waiting for what she was about to say next, but she didn't get the chance. 3 officers moved toward her, hands hovering over their cuffs, ready to detain a woman they believed was impersonating a SEAL commander. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Her name was Elena Ward, and she didn't resist when the cuffs clicked shut. She only looked up, calm, almost sad, as though she'd been expecting this moment for years. The entire lobby fell silent, a silence filled with suspicion, judgment, and something else she recognized instantly: fear. Because people fear what they don't understand, especially when it walks in wearing a medal that shouldn't exist. They brought her into the interrogation room, the old metal chair groaning beneath her as she sat. Detective Marlowe, a man who prided himself on spotting lies from a mile away, dropped the file in front of her, the pages fanned open, blurred photos, flagged documents, inconsistencies that shouldn't be there. He leaned in. "Who gave you that uniform?" She didn't blink. "I earned it." He smirked, the kind of smirk people wear when they think they've already won. "That medal hasn't been awarded in 15 years, and the last person who received it died. So, try again." A tiny tremor ran through her fingertips under the table. It was the only sign of emotion she allowed herself. She thought she had buried her past forever. She thought she'd never see that medal questioned again. She was wrong. Marlowe left the room, letting her sit under the humming fluorescent light that flickered every few seconds like it was hesitating. In the hallway, officers whispered. A crowd was forming outside the station. Someone had recognized her from the newspaper years ago, the article that claimed she went missing. Another remembered a classified incident that no one was supposed to talk about, but everyone somehow knew pieces of. Whispers spread. Rumors rose. Accusations sharpened. Inside the room, Elena closed her eyes and replayed the mission she never wanted to remember. The one that ended with her teammates gone, her body broken, and the Navy quietly closing her file with 2 words: presumed dead. She exhaled slowly, tasting dust in the air, feeling the walls closing in. It wasn't the station she feared. It was the truth finally catching up to her. Then the door burst open. "Stand up," Marlowe said. "You're being charged with impersonation of a military officer, possession of falsified federal insignia, and obstruction of..." But he never finished the sentence, because the door behind him swung open with a force that made 2 officers jump back, and in walked Admiral Reese Calder, the highest-ranking officer on the entire East Coast, a man known for his zero-tolerance stance on stolen valor. His boots stopped inches from Elena. The station fell into a hush, the kind that made even the walls listen. "Remove her cuffs," he ordered. Marlowe stiffened. "Sir, with respect, she's now..." It wasn't a request. The cuffs came off, metal clinking against the table, echoing like a verdict overturned. The Admiral turned to the room full of skeptical officers. "I assume you've all examined her medal?" he asked. Marlowe swallowed. "Yes, sir. It's identical to the real one, but nothing." Calder stepped forward and picked up the medal from the table where they had confiscated it. Holding it up to the light, his voice dropped to a low, unwavering certainty. "This medal's authentic." The words hit the room like a shockwave. Officers exchanged looks. Someone whispered, "How is that possible?" Another said, "Then who is she?" Elena stared at the floor, emotion tightening her throat. She had hoped to disappear quietly, but fate had different plans. The Admiral set the medal down gently, as if returning a sacred object to its rightful place. And then he said the sentence that cracked the truth wide open. "She didn't impersonate a SEAL commander. She was one." Gasps rippled. Even Marlowe stepped back. "But sir," he argued, voice trembling, her file was sealed." Calder's jaw clenched, not because she lied, because she survived. A murmur spread through the room, a mix of disbelief and dawning respect. People pressed against the hallway glass. Someone outside the station yelled to the growing crowd, they had it all wrong. Elena wished the floor would swallow her whole. She never wanted recognition, only peace. But peace had never been hers to keep. Calder turned to her, softer now. "Lieutenant Commander Ward, why didn't you come to us when you resurfaced?" Her chest tightened. "Because I didn't want the life that came with it. The questions, the cameras, the expectations. I left for a reason. Running from your past doesn't erase it," he said gently. "It only chases you harder." A long silence stretched between them. Then a woman from the crowd burst into the station lobby. Marina Hale, a neighbor who had seen Elena help rescue a trapped boy weeks earlier when a pier collapsed. She stepped forward, voice shaking but loud enough for everyone to hear. "She saved my son's life," Marina said, without hesitation, without waiting for thanks. "If that's what an imposter looks like, then maybe we need more of them." Her words ignited the room. Officers softened. The crowd murmured agreement. But Marlowe, stubborn, afraid of being wrong, shot one last challenge. "Sir, even if the metal is real, why did she hide? What is she still hiding?" Elena looked up for the first time, and the truth came spilling out. "I survived that mission because someone pulled me out. Someone who disobeyed orders to go back for me. And that person died because of it." Her voice cracked. "I didn't want honor. I didn't want medals. I didn't want to stand in front of grieving families who deserved someone braver than me. So I disappeared. I thought that was the only way to honor them. By letting the world believe I was gone too." The room felt smaller, softer, as if the walls themselves wanted to step closer. Calder put a hand on her shoulder. "Survivor's guilt isn't a crime, Commander. But disappearing was," she whispered. "Maybe so," he replied. "But coming back, that took courage." A tremor moved through the crowd, the kind of collective breath people take when witnessing a life change in real time. Outside, the sun finally pierced through the clouds, casting a beam of light through the station window and landing directly on the metal between them. Dust motes sparkled in the beam like tiny floating truths. Calder looked at the officers. "Clear all charges and update her status." Marlowe frowned. "To what, sir?" The Admiral smiled, a rare, genuine smile that softened the years carved into his face. "To active duty, if she's willing." The room erupted, some with shock, some with admiration. And in that moment, Elena felt something she hadn't felt in years. Possibility, not obligation, not pressure, but the possibility of becoming herself again, not the ghost she'd tried to be. She turned toward the window, watching people outside capture the moment with their phones, though she knew most of them didn't even understand what they were witnessing. A resurrection, a second chance. She exhaled. "I'm not ready," she whispered. Calder nodded. "I didn't ask if you were. I asked if you were willing." Her heartbeat steadied. She could feel the weight of her past, but also the faint, warm pull of her future. Finally, she nodded. "Then yes, I'm willing." The Admiral stepped aside, letting her walk freely toward the door, toward the crowd that parted like a tide, eyes filled with something entirely new. Respect. And as Elena stepped into the sunlight, she felt it, the world no longer pressing her down but rising with her. Because courage doesn't disappear. It waits for the moment it's needed most. And sometimes, it walks back into the world wearing a medal that never stopped being real. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back, just like the truth did for her. On the morning everyone thought she was an imposter. If you enjoyed this story, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories just like this one.